In the Highlands, Andrew Carnegie turned a crumbling estate into Scotland's most extravagant private palace, only for a vast part of it to quietly disappear, leaving no photo, no blueprint, not even a trace on today's maps. Eyewitnesses whispered of overnight demolitions and walled-off rooms erased from memory. Why was an entire wing of Carnegie's castle destroyed in a single day and then seemingly erased from history? The answers may reveal a lost chapter architects and historians never saw coming. Estate maps from the late 19th century and early 20th century offer the first hard clues in the search for Skibo's missing architecture. Surveyors working in 1898 produced a detailed plan that outlined the castle's eastern footprint, extending nearly 24 metres beyond what appears in every subsequent map. This anomaly is not a matter of artistic error or careless drafting. The 1898 map was signed off by the local land registrar and bears the official stamp of the Sutherland County Survey. It was used to calculate property taxes and to allocate construction zones for the first wave of Carnegie's renovations. The scale is precise, with each metre calibrated against boundary stones that still mark the estate's perimeter today. A cartographic analyst examining overlays of the 1898 and 1901 estate maps points out the sharp contraction in the castle's outline. The later map, commissioned after the main phase of Carnegie's additions, omits the eastern projection entirely. The difference is not subtle. 600 square metres of internal space vanish from the recorded footprint. The analyst notes that the 1898 map includes a blocky extension with its own set of entrances and a corridor leading back toward the main hall. In the 1901 survey, this section is gone, replaced by open lawn and a straightened gravel path. No explanation is offered in the surveyor's notes. No demolition is logged in public records. The provenance of these maps is well established. Both are held in the Highland Council archives, catalogued under estate plans submitted for tax and planning purposes. The analyst recalibrates the overlays using fixed points, gateposts, the old stable yard, and the main tower's northwest corner. The result is clear. The 1898 footprint is larger, and the eastern section disappears entirely in the next official record. This cartographic clash is the first concrete evidence that something substantial was either removed, absorbed, or never built as planned. The scale of the missing section is impossible to dismiss as a drafting error or a landscaping adjustment. If the 1898 map reflected the estate as it stood on the eve of Carnegie's transformation, then the question remains, what happened to the structure that once occupied that space? The maps, precise and official, raise the mystery to the level of documented fact, demanding an explanation that no surviving blueprint or photograph seems willing to provide. A local man, the grandson of one of the original estate masons, stands in the shadow of what is now the north wall. His voice is steady as he recalls stories passed down. He says they worked through the night, not just once, but for several nights. When the sun rose, the old rooms were already gone. He remembers wagons loaded with stone and timber rolling away before dawn. No receipts, no tally, just the memory of hurried labour and a vanished structure. The physical evidence lingers in the stonework itself. Near the northeast corner, the castle outer wall thickens abruptly, from 0.7 metres to 1.1 metres over a span of less than 2 metres. Stonemasons who have measured it note the change is too sudden to be explained by normal reinforcement or design. The pattern of the masonry shifts as well. Older weathered blocks give way to smoother, newer stone laid in a different bond. In some places, the mortar lines are uneven, almost as if the builders were racing to close up an opening. A surveyor's log from 1902, preserved in the Highland Council archives, records a measurement anomaly at this very site. The log notes a discontinuity in foundation width, but no explanation follows. When later contractors opened a section of the wall to install new wiring, they found a bricked-up archway behind the plaster, sealed off with no corresponding doorway on the inside. Oral histories collected from other estate families echo the mason's account. A former housekeeper's granddaughter recalls hearing of rooms they were not allowed to clean. Her grandmother described corridors that led nowhere, doors that were suddenly locked, and the hush that fell over the staff whenever someone mentioned the old East Wing. These stories never made it into official records. The only trace is in the way descendants speak of a part of the castle that simply stopped existing, erased from daily life as thoroughly as from the maps. Despite these gaps, the facade tells its own story. The jump in wall thickness, the mismatched stone, and the sealed archway all point to a deliberate effort, not just to remove a structure, but to erase its memory. Workers' descendants still mark the spot by the way the wind sounds different against the wall, as if the building itself remembers what was once there. The next step lies in the paper trail, where official plans and renovation logs might reveal what the stones and stories cannot. Blueprints from the turn of the 20th century offer a rare window into the evolving shape of Skibo Castle. 3 sets of architectural plans, each dated within months of one another, show a building in flux. The earliest, labelled Plan A and signed by Ross and Macbeth in February 1899, lists 84 rooms. Wide corridors snake through the eastern extension with a cluster of service spaces and a secondary staircase branching off the main hall. The dimensions match the larger footprint seen in the 1898 estate map, confirming the presence of an eastern block that would soon vanish from official records. Plan B, dated July 1899, reduces the room count to 78. The eastern wing is still present, but several rooms are now marked as to be removed in red pencil. Annotations in the architect's hand reference structural realignment and foundation concerns. The corridor connecting the service rooms to the main building is shortened, and a note in the margin reads, "Simply see engineer's report." No such report survives in the archives. The plan's provenance is clear, with a Highland Council accession stamp and a faded envelope from the Ross and Macbeth office. Plan C, finalised in January 1900, shows a castle with only 75 rooms. The entire eastern block has disappeared, replaced by a sharply defined wall and a straight run of gravel path. The secondary staircase is gone, along with the warren of service rooms. The main hall now opens onto what is labelled East Lawn. The architect's signatures remain, but the annotations are sparse, just a single line that reads, "As built." Comparing the plans side by side, the changes are hard to ignore. Over the course of less than a year, 9 rooms and an entire wing vanish from the design. The blueprints themselves are held in separate collections. Plan A is in the Highland Council archives. Plan B is in the National Library of Scotland. Plan C is in the private records of the Carnegie Club. No single archive holds the full sequence. The inconsistencies in room counts and layout are not the result of careless drafting. They reflect decisions made mid-project, decisions that left no detailed explanation in the surviving paperwork. The official drawings, meant to document the castle's transformation, instead reveal a puzzle, one that only deepens when cross-checked against the physical evidence still present in the stone and mortar. February 1899 brought a council meeting at Dornoch Town Hall, scheduled to finalise approvals for Skibo's expanding footprint. The official logbook lists the gathering, but the minutes are missing. No record survives of the discussion, the vote, or the objections raised, if any. The gap stands out because every other meeting that winter is meticulously recorded, down to the attendance roll and the price of tea. Archivists have combed through the Highland Council's boxes for decades, but the folder for that night remains empty. In the absence of those minutes, the paper trail grows thin. Correspondence between Ross and Macbeth and the estate's legal agents refers obliquely to pending council clarifications, but the next surviving letter, dated March 1899, proceeds as if all hurdles have been cleared. A consulting engineer, brought in to review the new electrical system, notes in his private diary that the plans he received differ from those shown to the council earlier that month. He wrote that wiring routes were now redirected, the basement junction box was omitted, and he was awaiting a revised schematic. Electrical diagrams from the period only deepen the confusion. The 1902 revision, stamped by the estate's chief electrician, shows main power cables running along the west side of the new wing, with secondary lines branching into the old service corridor. Yet when modern engineers opened the walls for upgrades in the early 2000s, they found heavy-gauge wires snaking through the blocked-off eastern section, an area the 1902 plan labels as void. Junction boxes appear in locations unmarked on any surviving schematic. Archivists attempting to reconcile these discrepancies face a patchwork of incomplete documents. Some wiring diagrams are annotated with engineering shorthand, double lines, crossed-out routes and cryptic initials, but they lack signatures or dates. Others are on different paper stock as if spliced into the file from another project. The result is a tangle of technical records that refuse to align. The missing minutes and mismatched wiring plans suggest more than simple oversight. Each administrative silence, each unlogged revision, hints at decisions made off the record, choices that left physical traces in the castle's walls but little on paper. For researchers and engineers alike, the only way to resolve these contradictions is to move beyond the archives and into the structure itself, searching for answers where the documents fall short. A team of structural engineers arrived at Skibo with one goal: to determine whether the castle's current footprint concealed more than the blueprint suggested. They began with ground-penetrating radar, scanning the east lawn where the vanished wing once appeared on estate maps. The radar device registered a striking anomaly beneath the surface, a void measuring just over 7 meters by 4 meters, rectangular and sharply defined, sitting parallel to the castle's northeast wall. The signal was clear, showing an empty space where no basement or cellar is recorded in any surviving plan. To verify the reading, the engineers mapped the load paths in the surrounding walls. Their calculations flagged an unusual distribution: steel beams embedded in the stonework above the void, far heavier than required for a simple lawn or garden. The reinforcements suggest the area was once designed to support a substantial overhead structure, perhaps a multi-story wing now absent above ground, but still influencing the building's skeleton. Thermal imaging provided another layer of evidence. On a cold morning, the temperature in the northeast corridor dropped by nearly 2 degrees Celsius compared to adjacent rooms. The gradient held steady even when the heating system was running at full capacity. The only plausible explanation was a large unheated space below, insulated from the rest of the building. Engineers cross-checked the readings with external sensors and found the cold spot matched the location of the radar void almost exactly. No public records mention a substructure at this spot. The void does not appear in any known plan, nor do the castle's maintenance logs reference an accessible basement or tunnel in the area. The stonework above ground, already noted for its abrupt change in thickness, aligns perfectly with the boundaries of the subsurface anomaly. Every technical measurement points to the existence of a hidden space, one that does not belong to the modern era of the castle, and that official documentation refuses to acknowledge. From radar scans and thermal maps to the silent testimony of reinforced stone, the evidence accumulates. There is more beneath Skibo's surface than the current plans admit. The ground itself holds the memory of a vanished structure, preserved not in paper or photograph, but in the cold geometry of its empty foundations. Deep within Skibo's upgraded core, the hum of machinery was once a constant presence. Carnegie's vision for a self-sufficient estate demanded more than just comfort. It required a private power plant, capable of running a small village. The generator installed in 1900 delivered 120 kilowatts, far more than the castle's listed electrical load at the time. Estate ledgers from that year detail lighting circuits, electric bells, and heated baths, but the numbers never add up to the full output. Even by the standards of grand Edwardian homes, the surplus was remarkable. A letter from Alexander Ross, the chief architect, survives in the archives. Dated April 1901, it refers to the installation of auxiliary systems and redundant mechanisms in the new East Wing, though the specifics are never spelled out. The correspondence is brief, squeezed between more routine updates on stone deliveries and roof repairs. No technical drawings accompany it, yet the phrase returns in later notes, always in reference to the same section of the castle, the very area where the structural void was detected beneath the lawn. Maintenance logs from 1903 record a flurry of activity around the castle's ventilation shafts. Over a single week in July, estate workers sealed off at least 5 major vents in the northeast quadrant. The logs list brick, lime, and iron grills delivered to the site, but the reason for the closures is never explained. Modern engineers tracing the remnants of these shafts found that several terminate abruptly behind solid stone, just meters from where the ground-penetrating radar registered the empty space below. The castle's heating and air systems, advanced for their day, relied on forced draft ventilation. Yet the blocked shafts suggest that airflow was deliberately cut off to a section no longer in use. Conservation teams mapping the remaining ductwork note that the sealed passages are constructed from a different grade of brick, denser, with a faint metallic sheen, unlike anything else in the building. The pattern repeats in the subfloor crawl spaces where access doors are welded shut and junction boxes sit idle, wires clipped and labelled in a hand that matches the estate's early electricians. The oversized power plant, the unused wiring, and the bricked-over vents all point toward an infrastructure built for more than just comfort. The physical clues, the generator's output, the auxiliary system letters, and the sealed shafts form a chain leading back to the buried void beneath the east lawn. Whatever was once powered, ventilated, and maintained in that section is now silent, erased from the daily life of the castle, but not from its bones. The evidence lingers in the walls and underfoot, hinting at spaces and systems that were designed to be forgotten. Even now, Skibo's altered walls and missing records remind us how easily grand ambitions and their secrets can vanish into stone and silence. Architectural mysteries are not just relics. They are warnings about the fragility of legacy when documentation fades. As restoration and redevelopment surge worldwide, what is lost in the shadows shapes what future generations will never know. Some walls hide more than history. They bury the questions we still haven't asked.